Debunking mortgage myth.
But first, let's hit it. Hi, it's Alan Victoria. Welcome to our channel and podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
Also, you can call text all the time at 252-327-3357. Talking to you, do not be shy. Also, don't forget your buyer's guide and seller's guide in the description below.
Exactly. Today, we basically wanted to talk about many of you that your home buyers or future homeowners know about these myths that many of you, they believe and they are not true. And they're starting with...
But we got a lot of this information before he jumps into the fact. Okay. We got a lot of this information. We gathered it from all of our things. So we did a lot of research and we're sharing not personal stories. We're sharing basic myths and then we're going to debunk the myths. That way, when you are a home buyer, you're already smarter than the average person because you have understood the reality versus what people initially start thinking.
Yes. Exploring our statistics shows that 77% of the Americans, they believe and they anticipate that the mortgage rate still is rising.
Which I hope that's not true. I'm going to go with the experts on this because most of the experts are believing that we have plateaued at this point and we are at the highest interest rate in the filming of this video, which is at little over 7%. And they are expecting it to start going down. I am not an expert. I will tell you I'm a real estate agent. I do not study these numbers all the time. I just know what's going on as it's happening, the same as you. But I do know that, there's the general belief and then there's what the experts believe. And there is a difference at the filming of this video.
Well, what is really a mortgage misconception at this time?
Okay, so mortgage, here's a major one. Mortgage rates change every second it's like the stock market go up and down and up and down. And it's like what's going on every single second of every single day. It really is not just one number for everybody, and everybody's number is going to be a little different, and they're going to change frequently. So when you lock it at 8 o'clock in the morning versus 5 o'clock in the afternoon, those are different numbers at that point. What do most people believe?
And as a result, the myth is 47% of the home buyers, they think at the time when they have the pre-approval letters in their hand, their interest rate is locked, which is not true.
When does it lock?
Basically,
when the loan officer does it.
Exactly.
So you're already under contract at that point. The loan officer is going to lock you. And it's going to be when you are formally approved for the loan, which is later on in the process, not when you're selecting a home at all. It's going to be when, and then a lot of people, I have people who are fully approved but still not locked because they're not going to close for months till months from now. So their lender is just watching the market and hedging their bets that it's going to go down. So, I do not know the answer, like I said, but I do know that it is set after a formal approval.
Exactly. The other myth and the problem is about the opinion about the pre-approval letter, no?
Right. Now, the financial perspective of a pre-approval letter is, of course, it's going to tell us how much we can go shopping for a house. So you can start narrowing down what you can afford and what you cannot afford. Because if you're approved for $250,000, we are not looking at the $500,000 homes. It's just too much of a difference. Now, there's that. So what about the transactional when we're on the transaction side?
Can you say that?
Well, it means if we're like the seller's agent or the buyer's agent, we really want to start shopping with people who are pre-approved, or we want, as a seller's agent, to get that pre-approval with the offer. So I prefer the pre-approval with the offer because it shows that this person is fully ready to buy a house. There's no financial risk in accepting a certain offer. Buyer's agents prefer you to get pre-approved, so we know how much to shop for, so we're not showing you things that you cannot afford. Even if you think you can afford it, the rules are the rules, and we can't change the rules. We don't create the rules. And you might think you can afford $500, but if you're really actually only getting approved for $250, we need to stick to that number.
And as a result, 64% of the non-homeowners and 55% of the homeowners, what they believe the house selection actually precedes of the pre-approval letter, which is not true.
Right. In fact, the opposite. If you're looking for a house before you get pre-approved, by the time you say you find, let's say you take 6 months to find that perfect home, you finally found that perfect home, someone else is more likely to buy that perfect home that you found because you are not pre-approved. So, there's just a reality of you need to know your numbers.
Exactly. And Also, there is misunderstanding about the process of the pre-approval that many home buyers or the future homeowners, they believe
we
what
hear
they
this
are.
all the time. They think they believe, oh my God, if I get pre-approved, my credit score is going to be negatively affected, and they don't want to do it simply because they don't want a negative on their credit. But the reality is what?
The reality is really you need the hard inquiry that basically they can pull your credit, but that is a very minimal and it's short-lived. It's not something that definitely is going to affect that in the long period of time your credit score.
In fact, buying a house is probably going to improve your credit score by a lot. So that one small hit is going to go away even if you don't buy a home, and it's going to go away and give you positives if you do buy a home. So it's a better thing to actually just deal with it. But don't go crazy with getting hard inquiries. Be smart, select which loans you want to use, which companies you want to use, go with that company once you're fully committed to that company, and then get pre-approved, because you don't want to get 30 hits on your credit.
Exactly. The next thing that really we wanted to talk is about the delay in the mortgage approval, which also that could be a potential delay that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we've seen this many, many times. So some buyers see when they change their lenders after pre-approval or with pre-approval, it can extend the process. Sometimes it's necessary because they're going to give you a significantly better deal as a buyer, or the seller is going to significantly see this loan is more secure. So sometimes it is 100% better by switching the lender. However, that's going to delay the process.
But it's still, according to a statistic, 54% of the buyers finalize their deals with the lender who they got the pre-approval.
Right. So we understand you've made a choice. Stick with your choice. More than half of you are going to do that. Now let's talk about picking the ideal lender and then versus what actually closes on a home. Because these are different statistics out here, which is a really interesting fact.
Exactly. Therefore, 27% of the homeowner basically begin online, but only 43% of them close with the online discovered lenders, which is very surprising.
Now, on the other side of it, what happens is when you first come to a real estate agent, we think you have some sort of backroom deals. By the way, we get no money from any lenders ever. That's against the law. But we do have trusted lenders because we know people who we have closed on in the past successfully. And we know that they get the job done. And that is why real estate agents have preferred lenders, because including us in our buyer's guide, because we know that they can actually succeed to get to the close table. And then also 54% of people who have chosen to go with the agent choice actually close on the home,
which is really interesting. That means communication with your
which is the next one.
Real estate is super important, which is the next item. Basically, the role of communication in the home buying process. And saying that 62% of the home buyers converse with their loan officer weekly, and 22% of them, they check on their lender daily basis.
Right, because you don't want delays. You're going to call every single day, 22% of you, and 62% are like, I'll just check in weekly.
Exactly.
Totally normal. It happens all the time. A proactive agent, a proactive lender is going to help you buy that home as well, because they're going to call the seller's agent and verify the financial standing of this person is solid and they can close on the loan at a certain amount of date. They're going to give reassurances, and that is always a really good thing if your lender is going to be proactive in this process.
Exactly. Now we wanted to talk about the survey methodology. What is that?
Okay, so from the surveys we talked about, there was, we read all this information from surveys. So that is why we got a lot of this information for you. And then it's really about home ownership and home buying intricacies. So that's where we got a lot of this stuff from. Now, what about influence of the agent?
Influence of the agent. Therefore, 22% of the basically home buyers close a deal with their agent preferred lenders, and which basically what it
means that us as agents, we're definitely not going to be pushy about our person, because we do have recommendations, but I don't not care. We do not get paid from any lenders at all, because it's not our job at all. We just can tell you who has closed in the past, and we get nothing from them. However, 65% of all home buyers said that they were super satisfied with their lender at the close, and 66% of people were satisfied with their real estate agents at the end of the transactions, which also is scary to me, because all of my people should at 100%. So I have to, step back and say what's going on.
Therefore, the next thing is about market trends and insight about the housing market. And this is really go niche toward the millennial demographic.
Right.
No?
Millennials who have been struggling to buy a home really just freak out when we see all this inflation, which means, what does inflation mean? Prices are increasing. Prices are increasing, and then interest rates are also increasing at the same time. And this is causing a lot of people a lot of stress. Honestly, I have a whole, minutes videos on why you should still be buying a home even with these high interest rates, because eventually that will go away. You will probably be able to refinance. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I know that you can only make that payment go lower. And what you are doing is locking in a payment that you can afford for 30 years, which is great. And then you're going to own a home 100%. And that's making an assumption that you're never going to pay extra.
Yes. And the last myth that we wanted to talk is about real estate myths and truths, that 62% wrongly believe that 20% down payment is a must to have. And 66% mistakenly think the buyers covers agent commission. Therefore, these are the myths that you need to be aware. And of course, we recommend you.
Okay, again, 20% myth is not real. There's 0% down with USDA loan, 3.5% down with the FHA loan. VA also going to be 0% down. If you're going
financing.
Conventional because you want to go with, once they get away a lot of fees eventually, they're going to go at 3 or 5% depending on the bank as well. So, I mean, there's no way you need 20%. And then also, just because we said that buyer's agents are typically covered under the seller's fees at the filming of this video. I do not know the future. But even still, having a buyer's agent in your corner is really the best thing you can do. So how do we sum this up?
Basically, we wanted to conclude this video and podcast with that. We cannot replace the knowledge with all of this myths. That's why you need to basically research and do your due diligence. Find your your loan officer and
a real estate agent, because we have a buyer's guide. Don't forget to grab our buyer's guide in that description, because we really do have information there. And even if you're not here in my area and you live somewhere else in the nation, I can still. If you want to talk to me, I'm happy to talk to you wherever you are, because I can tell you who is going to work in your area, because we have contacts nationwide and internationally.
And we definitely, at the end, I just wanted to, at the bottom of my heart, suggest that if you go with a loan officer, try to stick with the local one. Don't go to something out of your market, because you don't know what is the commission of your estate is, and when they want to oversee all the paperwork and paper trail for the underwriting. And then you might end up with a lot of stress and also a lot of fees, hidden fees that you not expect. Therefore, definitely make sure you talk to your real estate agent and you get somebody locally in your local market.
With that, we love talking to you. We can't wait to talk to you soon. And hit us in the description below.
And talk to you soon.